Now let's try to connect the user. Let's try to connect to the database management system using the user1 account. So for that we use a SQL developer tool, which is graphical user interface for the Oracle DBMS. This tool is available from the box. We can download it from the Blackboard, and I have already downloaded it and I have kept it in my desktop. So if we go down here, we have an executable application file, SQL developer. I just double click on it and it opens the SQL developer tool. So we have opened the SQL developer tool. This is the page which appears before us, and I have already one Oracle database which is already connected. So now, as we have created a user in the virtual machine, let's try to connect to the database of that user using that user1 credential. So for that we need to press the plus button, new connection, or button which prompts with the database connection settings property window, or we can go to the file option, new, and we choose the database connection and click OK. So the connection name, I'm going to name this connection name as Oracle user 1, and the username will be user1 and the respective password. Now I'm going to check the save password button here so that I don't have to enter the password next time when I connect to this database system. And for the host name, we need to find the host name for the Oracle of the virtual machine. So for that we need to identify the permanent host name of the virtual machine. If we go to the VMware, we have a tab called summary. In there you can find the IP address of the virtual machine. So now to find out the host name of the virtual machine, we go to the command prompt and we type nslookup space the IP address 204.2.72. Yeah, there we are. There we are. The name is Akuma 5570 UIS ad.uis.edu. So we use this host name to connect to the Oracle database system, and we enter the host name here, and the port number is 1521 is by default, and the system ID by default is ORCL for Oracle DBMS. So now we check the connection. Test was successful and I connect to the database management system for using the user1 account. So now that the user1 is able to connect to the database and he is able to see the schema and structure of the database system, but he is not able to, there are no tables available, and he is not able to and he will not be able to create a table in the schema because he doesn't has the permission. For example, let's create a table named table 1 and the column name as column 1, and if I click OK here, it should deny that it shouldn't have the it is not having the permission. There we see as encountered, and it has insufficient privilege. So the user one has the permission to connect to the database system, but does not has permission to create the table or view the table or view the records in the tables. So now we go back to the virtual machine and we try to provide the permission to the user so that he can enter the data into that table. The command to grant permission to insert data is grant insert table so the command is used to create table for the user one is grant create user create table space to user one. So now that we have granted the permission to create the table using the user one account. Now let's try to create a table now. I will just click the schema and click the refresh button. Now I try to right click and I click on new table and I name the table as table 1 and I choose the column name as user ID. I set that as a primary key and I click the add column button at the bottom to add another column to the table, and I name the column as user name and I set the varchar type as varchar. I'm going to choose the data type for user ID as number and I just click OK. And now the user one is able to create a table in the database. Let's see how now the user has the permission to create the database, but the user one does not have the permission to insert records into the database. So for that we need to provide another permission so that user one will be able to enter the data into the database. The command used is grant insert on user 1 the schema name dot tstable 1 to user 1. The grant was successful. Now let's go and try to insert the record in the database. I'll choose a table and I will just click on refresh to refresh the schema and user permission. Now let's try to enter the data. So we have different tabs that the SQL developer provides. The first column we have is the table properties tab. So it just names the columns. We can see the user ID and the data type of the columns, and if there is any null values or default data for this column, all the details we can find under the column. And if we choose the data, we can see the records in the table. As this is a new table, we don't have any record in this table, so let's try to click add records into the table. I choose this plus button, new record, to enter the new record into this table. user ID, I just give a random number. Yes, and I'll choose to add another record in this table. I choose the number. Now that I have entered the data, and we see the plus sign in this table, which means that the data entered is not saved into the database management system. So for that we need to commit the table. There we have the button here. I just choose the commit. The output says that no privilege on table space for user. So by default we need to have the table space so that the data entered is stored into the disk storage space. So we see that the user one does not has a table space for entering the data. So we need to provide table space for the user one. So for that we need to grant table space for the user. We'll go to the I have already opened Google for granting the table space, which is very useful. I find it very useful. So I'm going to use the same command in our demonstration video. So the command is grant and space unlimited table space to user 1. The grant was successful. Now let us go and try to insert the data now. As I have already installed the records, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to press the commit changes button. Yes, inserted 2 records and the commit was successful. So now the user 1 is able to insert and view and create table in this schema provided for the user 1. Okay, so connectivity. So the task for the project 1 is connectivity to the database management system by the tool using the server host. That is done. And the creation of table and the insertion of data by the user you created, yeah, we just saw that, and it is done. Demonstration of the functionality of the database management system. Okay, as I have told, we have various columns that is offered by the SQL developers, SQL developer tool, which can be very useful for the DBA for performing multiple tasks on the database system. So as I have already mentioned, the column table has the column names and the data type used for the column name. And if we want to edit this column name or the data type, we have just double click on the data type and we just click on the edit button. We just click on the data type. I just double click on it and we choose the edit button here in the toolbar, and it opens the edit table property window. We choose the user ID, and if we want to change the type, if we can choose it here, and if we want to do set any constraint, like the number has to be from 100, or it can be given any scale, and we can do a lot of things in this, and we can play around with this various things which is available in the provided by this SQL developer tool. Moving on to the next tab, we have the data table. We just saw how to enter the data into the table, and we have committed the table records into the table so that the data is stored into the database. And moving on to the constraints, we can see the all the constraints that are provided by the that are applied for the applied in the database. So we see everything has the default values, and we see have the primary key constraint, and we have the grants tab which shows what are the privileges we have given for this user. So the user one has privilege to insert and object name, and has the privilege to insert data into the test table of this of the user one schema, and statistics which shows all the records and the number of rows and the last analyzed date and sample size, all these things. As this is a new table in which we have in this schema, we don't have any values available in this schema. But if we go on to the database which I have already connected, we can see a lot of database in that. Let us look into one of the table. Okay, so now we have a column which has the current constraints. We have sys underscore C003488 as the primary key, and we have triggers. We have lots of the functionalities in this Oracle database which are provided by the SQL developers, which is provided by the SQL developer tool. So moving on to the next task which is given in the project 1, install one of the database management tool on a computer other than the server. Okay, I'm going to install the Oracle DBMS onto my laptop now. I have already downloaded the package from the box account, and I have already saved it into my desktop. So now here it is. To start the installation, we just need to double click on the setup. It opens for the prompt to verify the publisher, and I go ahead and I choose yes. I need to install this software package, and we have set of requirements check that is running now as we see, and some command line are commands which is running background. Yeah, there it is loading setup driver. It's saying that environment does not meet the minimum requirement. Are you sure want to continue? Okay, so for the demonstration purpose, we are going ahead and going forward and proceeding with this installation. So I just choose yes, and I want to proceed. The first window which appears is the configuration security updates. We don't want to have any update request for this package, so I don't have to enter an email for this package, and I check and uncheck the box for the support, and I move on to the next wizard, and it prompts me with the message that do you want to proceed with the configuration of the security issues in your configuration. Yes, I want to proceed with this installation, so I'm going to go ahead and press yes. So in the next page we see three different options: create and configure database, install database software only, and upgrade an existing database. The first option we choose is the simplest, and it will be automatically installing the default configuration of the database, and it will automatically install the schemas and everything. The second option is only installs the software package, which may, and after installing the software package, the system administrator has to create the schema and create the configuration database to proceed further with the database admin activities. And the third option is the upgrade an existing database, which is used to upgrade an already existing package. So for this video recording demonstration, I'm going to choose create and configure a database, and I click next. The next page shows the class of the installation. As I'm using the desktop class, I'll choose desktop class as of now for the demonstration purpose. And if we want to have the high-end configuration, like if we are going managing the system on the wide scale, we choose this server class, which has the multiple choice and options for the database management. So for this video we are going to choose as a desktop class, and I'm going to choose next. And the next page displays the default path and the location of the package installation, and it asks for the enterprise edition. We choose the default thing. We are going to install the enterprise edition now, and here we have the administrative password. So if we have to enter the administrative password, and as it is compulsory for the security purpose, so we just give the password in here, and then we click on next. So there is a list of things, summaries for the installation, which is going to happen in the next couple of minutes. So we just want to, we say we want to install the package, so we just click on finish, and now the installation wizard is looking for the installing the product. Okay. While it is installing, I would like to add something that I personally think that Oracle DBMS is the best, because it has a wide learning knowledge, and I mean, we have the command line interface, which is really useful for the SQL developer, and the SQL DBA for the querying the any particular thing, or it is more secured as compared to the other DBMS. Okay, the installation is going to take a couple of more minutes, so I'm going to pause this video, and I'm going to I'm going to skip this video to the end, and we'll continue in the next part of the video. See you on the flip side. Thank you. Okay, we are in final stage of installation of database system for Oracle's Oracle Database Management System. So the database configuration assistance has successfully installed, and we can choose to change the password if we want to have the password for the configuration assistant here by clicking on the password management button. But we are not going to proceed with this password management right now, so we'll going ahead and clicking the OK button, and that's it. The installation of Oracle database was successful, and we have completed the installation in our local laptop. So with that, we have completed the project 1 task, and thanks for watching.